You are listening to the Marketing and Yoga Pants podcast, a podcast in sisterhood for female entrepreneurs that serves up savvy, actionable marketing advice and interviews with creative business owners who are in the trenches, building their businesses as we speak. The Marketing and Yoga Pants community is for you, the girl on her couch, in her yoga pants, top knot tight, hunched over her MacBook, trying her hardest to get the word out about her business. So in the name of supporting each other while supporting ourselves, bringing community, sound marketing advice, coffee, chocolate, and wine together for you, yoga pants wearing business owner, in a world where followers mean nothing, but paying customers mean the world, join us on this week's podcast episode and in our private Facebook group where you'll meet your soul sisters and build your business in yoga pants. Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing and Yoga Pants podcast. I'm Brit and I'm here today with Lucy Dunne, founder of Dunne Bells, an online personal training company. Thank you so much for joining me today, Lucy.
Thank you so much for having me, Brit. I am absolutely pumped up to be on this cast today.
And I knew you would be. Okay, so Lucy and I first met a few months ago. She's been a loyal listener of the podcast and a loyal engager within the Marketing and Yoga Pants podcast Facebook group. And I just reached out to her a couple weeks ago and said, you know what, Luce, I love what you're doing. I love seeing her big goals for 2018. And I said, it's time to have you on the podcast. So I'm pumped to get to chat with her today, get some insight into her business, her industry, her marketing strategy, and what makes it all tick. So, Lucy, you ready to jump in?
Absolutely. I'm so excited.
Okay, let's do this. So, first of all, Luce, tell me about how you earn your living.
Yeah, totally. So it's been not always a steady journey getting there. Like most people listening to this, I think it's always navigating that way and making it so that it can actually sustain a lifestyle is definitely something that we all strive towards. So it's been a journey to get where I'm at, but finally it's at a place where there's consistency and things are going well. So essentially I run online personal training programs. So I have an 8-week program and I have a 21-day program. And these are the core, I guess, pillars of my business and what generates revenue. And women all around the world take part in these online training programs, which include the nutrition side of things and the personal training, the actual physical exercises. And yeah, so that's where people can just purchase these programs online and they take part in sort of a group environment. So you're never alone on that journey. And they run every 4 weeks. And the women that take part in this, I'm just like so blessed to be able to train these women. And it's just amazing to see their results and what they're able to do.
That's incredible. Some of you that have listened for a while, you know that my background is in fitness. I thought I wanted to be a wellness coach the rest of my life. Kept the coach, left the wellness industry, but it's incredible that you are doing all of this online. So tell me, now you are in Canada, right? And so do you have any training that you do in person or is it strictly online? It's all happening on the web?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so correct. I'm in Canada. I'm originally from Australia and I took off on a one-way ticket quite young and I planned to go back and settle down and do the whole white picket fence dream thing. And then I was like, actually, this is not for me. So I'm in Canada and this is where I call home now. But yeah, I basically took a look at it and I thought, I want to reach more women. I want to have more of an impact of this and to see these transformations is what sort of fuels me and fills me up. So how can I do that when I only have a certain amount of hours in a day and training in person is it's sort of, I could see just a limiting factor on that. So everything that I do is online. The only thing that I do in person is sort of my, I guess, passion project things where it's for fun. So putting on fitness events and there's some exciting things sort of in person that I'll be doing in 2018, which we can definitely get into later. But as far as the actual training and like result-driven personal coaching, that is an all online platform.
That's awesome. Okay. So being that that's what you're doing right now, I would love to hear the backstory. You kind of just mentioned that you got a one-way ticket to Canada from Australia. Why you would do that? No, I'm just picking. But tell me the story of how you came to do this with your life.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, again, just like the whole business journey, it's life is a journey itself as well. So it was filled with ups and downs, but essentially living in Australia, you always see these movies and there's this white Christmas and I remember seeing like Twinkies and all these things that just like don't exist in Australia. And it sounds so silly, but I was like always so interested in that sort of lifestyle. I guess it was very heavily influenced from America. All of our TV and movies is all about that. So I'm like, I'm going over there and I'm going to find out what's going on. So I took off straight out of high school and just wanted to go explore. So I started in the States and was living sort of in New York, and that was my base. And through sort of traveling and backpacking and the real rough life there, I actually was having so much fun. But in addition to that, I put on a ton of weight. So at my heaviest, I was 215 pounds, and I didn't really have fitness or wellness on my radar. Eventually, I moved up to Canada and was sort of working in a ski hill area. And that's where I started to sort of get this interest, you could call it, in, man, I should take care of my health and I should take care of myself. And I've sort of let all of this slip. And so, yeah, it's been an interesting journey. And now I love it up here in Canada. And it is freaking freezing, I won't lie, but there's something so beautiful about the snow and the mountains. And you appreciate summer a lot more as well.
Okay, so you had that story of you were overweight. You realized that, hey, you know what? If I don't curb this thing, I'm just going to continue to be unhappy in my body. And so I know that especially for women, we know that's a tough road to walk, but take me through how you went from realizing, hey, I'm not healthy right now, to now being an online personal trainer. I mean, that's a big step. So what did that look like?
I do want to just like make it crystal clear. That's not a step that happens overnight by any means. Mm-hmm. And so the weight loss journey for myself, like that was learning, and it was like a foreign language when I first sort of got into it. So I tried these big weight loss companies that are out there that, you're tracking all of these things and you're getting, meals prepared for you and all of these things. And I would lose a lot of the weight on those programs, and then I would always gain it back. So I was really finding this mismatch, I guess, in trying to live my life. I'm an Australian, so I love to go out and party and have the food and have the drinks, and I love that, and I think that should always be part of life. But then I was, on the flip side, trying to be healthy and trying to get my body in shape and what I wanted to go after as far as my fitness goals. And there was just kind of this disconnect with, okay, how can I have that lifestyle but also look and feel great? And it took a lot to actually find that sweet spot and determine what works, because unfortunately in the media and in that world, it's sort of not portrayed that way. And it's almost like people are scratching their heads wondering what to do because it is so confusing. So I learned a lot of the lessons the hard way, and it took me a number of years. But then it was really turned into, okay, I want to be able to help all of the women around the world also find this, because you can live an awesome life and also achieve your health and wellness goals.
Absolutely. That's incredible. Okay. So take me back to your very first client. How did you turn your passion for fitness and your own personal journey into a business? And how did you get the attention of that first paying client?
That's a great question. And I think even though this is sort of geared towards the fitness side of things, I think personally this could be sort of for any, I know you have a lot of awesome people in your group and you have a lot of people following along on this cast. And I think this can be sort of applied to any business. Essentially what I did is I was just documenting on Instagram is where it started. Sort of, I use that as like a personal journal. And I think if you even scroll back to my very first post, it just says like, if I inspire one person, that's the goal of this account. Not even dreaming or thinking that this could turn into what it is today. So Instagram is basically where it all started for me, and just being sort of a real, raw, authentic version of myself was getting quite a bit of attention. And I was spending all of my free time, responding to women all over the world about what I think they should do, or, what I was doing. And they just wanted to sort of follow along with my journey, I guess, and try even eating the same foods that I was eating was something that was really interesting to them. So that's kind of how it all started and evolved. And actually, my very first client was from Brazil, and it was a lady named Nivea, and we had never really connected on Instagram, like in direct messages or anything like that. But obviously, the second that I sort of announced this is actually turning into a business now, I can offer you, these services in a more structured way versus just where my free time allows me to, and all of that. And since then, it's just been incredible to watch the growth. And a lot of that I can attribute to social media.
Incredible. So she had just been kind of following along your journey. And then when you made the ask of like, okay, this is actually a business, I can help you in these ways, she took you up on it.
Yeah, like within minutes of posting, it was just like people, I think, once they can sort of plug into you and that you know what to do and you are an expert in those things, I think that you have people sort of wanting that. So if you can give them what they're wanting, I think that's where we need to sort of turn the focus to. And it's not for everyone. There are some people that probably unfollow me or never would follow me. And understanding that and realizing that has been something very important for me to learn. But the people that I sort of want to be associated with are those people that are everything that I put out, they absolutely love because they can see it working. And those are the people that, that's your tribe and that's your group. And that's where you want to be hanging out.
Yeah. And they're able to see you as a human, not just a business owner. And there we go. Power of relationships. It's so good. Okay. So then what was the next step from going from your first couple of clients to building out? You now have online programs that you're continuously running for new clients and repeated clients and whatnot. So tell me about the evolution of those programs.
Yeah, so I think what started as I definitely did some testing, and I'm really geared into making sure that you are trying to make sure things are as perfect as possible. I don't believe in perfection, but making sure sort of the value that I'm going to be adding to people is what I think it is, and backing that up by people trying it and testing it. So before I even launched anything, I took a number of people through sort of some beta testing of these programs, got the feedback, got the likes, got the dislikes, and then essentially worked with a team of people that I contracted out as far as design and the actual bringing to fruition the programs and how it was all going to be delivered to clients. So that was all sort of probably took 1 to 2 months to get that sort of all set up and figured out to make it actually run seamlessly. And so, yeah, it was just a combination of making sure that I had all of the best pieces of everything that I essentially had learned throughout the years and all of my training and everything like that with the certification. So it was a combination of all of that in this nice sort of packaged, I guess you could call it like a present with a bow on it. It looks beautiful and it is awesome, but it's got all the best stuff inside instead of this really, there's half-assed way I could have done things, but I want it to be as perfect as possible for the people and so they can actually get the results that they deserve. And it has been proven to me time and time again that, these women just love it and they're just blowing me away with what they're capable of. So it's been exciting and awesome to see that happen.
Well, I think there's a lesson in there, I think, for any business, just like you said before, this isn't just for fitness, this is business as a whole. And when you are an expert in something, even if you feel a little imposter syndrome around what you are an expert in, thinking, everybody knows this, don't they? They don't. And because they don't know what you know about your expertise in your industry and your topic, they don't know what they need. And so if you can package it in a way that has proven results, it's such an easier sell, right? And I can see, knowing what I know about the fitness world, it's like all of the fitness stuff, all the wellness stuff is just, while it's exciting and easy to obsess over when you're in the industry, it's such a huge question mark for your clients, right? They're scared out of their minds to start. They have no idea where to start. And so I think it's really smart. And I want to give you credit for recognizing that and packaging your services in that way. I can only imagine that makes it that much easier for your clients. Have you found that?
Oh, thank you so much. That actually means the world to me. And you're right. It's the huge question mark that sums it up. And I guess the other thing to touch on is, in the industry, for whatever reason, there is this perception of like, we need these bikini bodies and we need to eat, 1,100, 1,200 calories a day and spend 2 hours on the treadmill. And like, I just call BS on all of that, because I spent so many years doing that and never seeing the results that I wanted to see. And so the best thing that I love about the program is that it is more about, let's cut through this and let's get to the real raw side of everything. You're going to have birthdays, you're going to have weddings, you're going to have celebrations, and all of those things usually involve food and drink. And a lot of where I see women come unstuck is they don't know how to incorporate the living side of being healthy and getting to where you want to be with your, your goals and your dream weights and things like that. And so the best thing about being able to offer this program is that it's filled with lifestyle focus. And it's like, you don't have to just eat that salad that you never want to eat. Like, let's eat the foods that we want. Let's stop depriving ourselves. And please, let's stop spending hours on the treadmill.
Yes. I love it. Yep. I am totally behind you. Okay. So now let's talk about the work you're doing right now. And I have to be honest, what really made me think, I got to get Lucy on the podcast. I mean, I had been thinking about it for a while, but when I read what you were working on for 2018, I was like, yep, she's coming on the podcast. I need to talk to this girl. So tell me, what are you working on right now? And what are your big, huge goals for 2018? I cannot wait for you to tell the listeners about this.
Oh my gosh, I have so many huge goals that sometimes it's, you don't want to spill the beans all at once, because you just got to put things in the works. And as business owners listening to this, I'm sure you all know very well about that. But I think the biggest things in 2018 that I'm super excited about, there we sort of a cross-Canada movement that is being worked on with some other influential people that have had sort of similar journeys, similar transformations. And it's going to be something that people sort of across Canada can get involved in. And again, it's really focusing on the feeling of your body versus like a lot of the other things that I see out there are really restrictive, I guess is the best way to put it. And there's these just clicky feels to them. So really excited to bring something different to the industry, whereas it's going to be packed full of goodies and it's going to sort of include everybody and get people really excited for what they're capable of. And it's just really focused on like the mindset side of this fitness world. I have some awesome big collaborations and some events planned, which is exciting. And then another big thing that I'm working on, which is also really exciting, is some retreat style things. So although I do love the online space, there is something to being around people and seeing those sort of mental breakthroughs, I guess. And part of that comes from tearing it all apart and then putting all the pieces back together. And so there's some really exciting things for 2018 planned. And I just can't wait to sort of bring those to you guys and bring those to the public. It's going to be exciting times.
That's exciting. So you're taking this little solopreneur online business, essentially at least national. I mean, of course you work with people across the globe, but you are connecting and collaborating with other professionals to continue this message and continue this movement. That is an amazing ripple effect that we're all looking for, right? Because at the end of the day, the work that we're doing has to be meaningful. I know that about our listeners, right? And you do too, because you've been in the podcast group for a while. At the end of the day, if we can't feel like what we're doing is meaningful, we're totally unfulfilled and basically jerks. We're just not happy people, right? And I love that you're infusing all of that into what you do and creating that ripple effect. Now, I know about this, but I want to know more. Tell me about how you infuse your values of charity and helping others into this brand and business that you run.
Yeah, and that's another big sort of thing that will sort of evolve, I guess, more in 2018 as well. But one of my pillars in this business has always been sort of how I can give back and how I can make this bigger than just me and the person that I'm training. So I always want to keep that in mind. And so in my programs, whenever a individual purchases a program, they're actually gifted funds and they're able to donate to the charity of their choice. So what I was finding is I was donating a portion of my profits. Like there's a lot of other companies out there sort of running that model. And I was thinking, well, everybody that I speak to is passionate about some sort of charity usually. And what you're passionate about is probably different to my charity that I'm passionate about. So I wanted to sort of empower people to have an impact on those things that they're passionate about. So gifting those funds has been a really cool way to see that go a little bit further. And then with the movements and with the events that I run, like we're having a lot of fun and we're getting some awesome people together, but we're also raising a ton of money for charities, which is just the cherry on top of an awesome cake. So it's been super exciting to be able to just, hand over that check and see these charities so thankful. And it's something that the community is winning in just like the biggest way. So it's super, I guess I'm very fortunate. I consider myself to be super lucky to be able to do that.
Well, and just imagine that experience, that client journey. I mean, I'm going to take it back to business for a second, but that client journey of taking the step to become healthier. And that's a very vulnerable step for so many women to take. And then to feel that initial empowerment in being able to say, I just helped these people. Like I might be taking a step for my own self-care and self-worth and self-love, which feels a little uncomfortable because I'm not used to doing that. But I also get to go empower others and show my power over here. And I can just imagine that richening the experience tenfold. I mean, just beyond, right from the get-go. Again, praise hands to that. I love it.
And it's so true. And I'm a firm believer, and I think you are as well, Brit, that we're just like all better together. And there's this like mentality out there that we have to do it alone and we have to sort of grind and hustle and put your blinkers on and not, be fearful, I guess, of other women out there. And I'm just like such a believer in let's surround ourselves with big people. Let's challenge ourselves and let each other like lift versus sort of tearing each other apart. So it's all about coming together. And you're right, when they can have an impact on someone else or another organization, like that's just, it's tenfold, like woohoo.
Yeah. Yet again, that ripple effect, that is huge. I love it.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's shift a little bit and lighten things up. I want to know, where is your favorite place you've ever traveled to?
Oh my gosh. I would have to say Portugal. So my family lives in Australia, and we like to sort of get away at Christmas time. It's a good time to be together, because for so many people, that's what Christmas is about, is that family time and that quality time. And so Portugal is somewhere that we've spent a Christmas, and that is just like such a good memory in my heart. It was such an amazing time.
Perfect. What is your favorite way to learn? Do you like to read, listen, a bit of both, move your body? Like, what does that look like for you?
I'm really, really, really trying hard to get into this whole reading thing. It doesn't come like supernatural to me. When I actually pick up the book and start reading, it's like I could sit there for days, but for whatever reason, I have a little bit of a block to actually get myself to, I guess, sit down and get cozy and open that book. I love the idea of it, and I like how awesome it looks in movies. But for me, whatever reason, that's something that I'm really trying to accomplish and get used to. I'm definitely a person who puts on the podcast or who, puts on the audiobooks, and I like to listen to it versus read it. So at least I can identify that, because for the longest time I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I do this?
Yeah, that's huge, because we all learn differently. That's why I love asking that question. So if our listeners wanted to learn more about the way that you do fitness and wellness and how you view it and how maybe they can take the first steps in becoming a healthier person in the world, where would you send them? Do you have any resources, or do you have any books or podcasts or something that you would suggest them tuning into?
Absolutely. I try and put a lot of resources out there for people that are at any walk. So whether they're sort of just starting in the health and wellness and wanting to sort of get more fit and in shape, versus all the way up to somebody who's quite advanced and maybe just wants some accountability, because for a lot of us, that's where we fall off the wagon, is we're missing that accountability piece. So I have a ton of resources on my blog. I also have a free downloadable ebook, which contains a bunch of information. And I also just encourage, get around a community, find some people that you think would be a good support for you. So I do have a number of resources for that, which can be, if you just sort of go onto my Facebook or my Instagram, I'm constantly posting about that to encourage people to sort of branch out and just take the first steps. But I usually send people to my Instagram because that's where I spend most of my time. And that's where you get the sort of the real truth about things. And there's lots of little tips in there about sort of how to get started or what to sort of add into your day to feel better and how to keep motivated when you're sort of feeling lazy and tired and all of those things that happen because we are humans at the end of the day.
Yeah. That's so good. Okay. I want to ask, especially around this initiative that you're going to be involved in with people across Canada, and kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but the initiative is really to reconnect with your body, right? And feel it again, because so many of us kind of go through our days not feeling our body. Like we're in our body, but we don't really understand it or feel connected to it. Am I reading through the lines there? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, there's definitely a focus on that, but there's also there's going to be a heavy focus on let's get away from the scale and let's start to be more in tune with how our body is feeling. So like there's so many women that are eating something that maybe a nutritionist has told them to eat, or they've read online that they should be eating, and they're not actually listening to their body when it's telling them that this makes me feel bloated, or this makes me not have energy, this makes me not feel full. There's so much of that. And so the movement is, there's going to be a lot of focus on like listening to your body and how to do that and really tuning into how you're feeling, how your clothes are fitting versus obsessing about that number on the scale.
Incredible. Now, I understand just from my own life and from the gals I get to connect with every week, as entrepreneurs, especially ones that hang out in our yoga pants all day at home, or a lot of times, we can so easily become disconnected with our bodies, either on purpose because we want to be disconnected from our bodies, or because we just aren't paying attention. We're focused on our work. We've got our head in our MacBooks and we're just not paying attention. So I'm putting you on the spot, Nat, right now, but can you give me and the listeners one or two or three just first steps to paying attention to how we feel and what we do during our day, what we eat during our day really actually feels like, what it feels like in our body? Can you give us some ways to be more conscious of all of that?
Yeah, I can absolutely do that. One of the biggest things that I would recommend is some sort of morning routine. Now, I know there's a lot of podcasts that talk about it and a lot of information out there that talks about it, but I want to sort of break this down and like not make it something that is not achievable. So 5 minutes before you open that laptop, before you sit down with that big cup of coffee, just take 5 minutes. And I'm not going to say you must meditate or you must stretch or you must work out, whatever that is. Just 5 minutes in the morning to completely ground yourself, whatever that looks like, is super important. For me, what I do is I do like a 5-minute meditation, and then straight after that meditation, I write down 3 intentions for the day. And those 3 intentions are not usually related to business. They're sort of things that I need to do to feel fulfilled by the end of the day. So that's just a really quick tip that I would really recommend getting into the habit too. And it takes about 2 weeks. If you do that consistently, you will then very quickly notice a difference if you miss that one of the days. So it becomes part of a routine and part of your habit. The second thing that I would recommend is having a plan. So again, before you open that MacBook, have a quick conversation with yourself or have some sort of plan about what you're going to eat that day, because it's so easy to start working with that big cup of coffee and then all of a sudden you look down and it's like 11:30 and you haven't put any food in your body. And you need, like, food is fuel. So you're not going to be performing at your best if you don't have any fuel in you to convert to energy, essentially. So make a plan and sort of try and stick to it as best as possible. And then the third thing I would recommend is having lots of fruit and veg in your fridge ready to go. So if you are working from home, it's so easy to, again, like, you feel hungry because you've just sat there for a few hours past when you should have been eating. Now you're starving, so you grab something that's quick, easy, and usually not what your body needs or wants. So stocking your fridge with those delicious fruits and veggies makes it easy to, in a pinch, prepare something and give your body the nutrients and minerals that it wants.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And those things are quite small. I mean, considerably small. It's not like well, you need to start working out 2 hours a day, honey. Like that's what you need to go do. No, it's spend 5 minutes getting grounded in the morning, becoming conscious of what's going on and having a plan and having some good food in your fridge. I mean, that's so good. I love it. I love how simple you just made that for us. Thank you. Okay, so one last question to wrap things up. I want you to look back and tell us, what advice would you give to yourself when you were first starting this business? That girl on her couch, hunched over her MacBook, trying to figure all of this out. What would you say to her?
Firstly, looking back, there are some questionable things that I have done for sure, but I am a firm believer in those are all part of our journey and they shape us to sort of the person that we become. So be kind to yourself in that respect. But definitely, I guess, lesson learned and what I would sort of tell myself if I had to is to make sure that I do things that excite me. So especially when you're starting and you're wanting to grow things and you're wanting to scale, it can be very easy to get into the trap where you'll sort of let, I guess, people dictate what you're doing and I guess clients dictate what you're doing as well. But what I would really recommend is making sure that what you're doing excites you and gets you pumped up. That is just crucial, and it puts you into such a happy space that you feel like you could like literally do this forever. And I think that is so often forgotten when people just do things because they think they have to, or you start dragging your feet because you've got to get that done by this date. And to me, everything should be a fist pump and everything should be like, hell yeah, I get to do this. And so that's what I'm really focused on right now. And the results that you see from when you do that sort of work is just like, it's easy to do because it comes natural to you. You're excited about it. You can't stop talking about it. And those are the things that we should be spending our sort of time and energy on, in my opinion, is just make sure that it excites you, make sure that it pumps you up, and make sure you're doing it for the right reasons.
Love it. Such good advice. Okay. So before we go, could you please tell the listeners where they can find you online?
Absolutely. Yeah. So my website is dunebells.com. And then I do spend most of my time over on Instagram. Those stories are just so much fun. I'm like actually starting to think that my stories are better than my feed. And I wish I could somehow just have the story highlighted. And I'm sure Instagram's coming up with a way to how to do that. But yeah, I'm over on Instagram at Dunebells, on Facebook as well at Dunebells, and on Twitter at Dunebells.
Perfect. And just so as you're listening and you're like, wait, just dumbbells? No, it's DUNNE Bells, because that's Lucy's last name. Perfect. And we'll link all of that over in the show notes and right in the iTunes app if you're listening on iTunes. Okay, you heard her, girls. Go check her out, send her some love, and then hop into our private Facebook group to hear even more from Lucy over the next few days. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. Keep the conversation going by visiting marketinganyogapants.com/Facebook, where you'll get to join that private Facebook group I've been talking so much about. There, you'll get to chat with our podcast guests. Yeah, they're in there too, and all of the other brilliant creative business owners. We're connecting, we're meeting our soul sisters, and we're building our businesses, all while in yoga pants. So come hang out with us. Again, visit marketinganyogapants.com/Facebook to get in. And one more thing. If you dig this podcast, would you be awesome and share it with someone? This entire Marketing in Yoga Pants movement is nothing without its community. So please share. And if you're really feeling the love right now, jump into iTunes. You're probably already there if you're listening to this right now. And leave us a rating and review. The more of those we rack up, the more the podcast will be found by ladies like you, and the stronger this community becomes. This episode was edited and produced by the Podcast Engineers. They're pretty great, so go find them at podcastengineers.com. This episode was also brought to you by my online marketing agency, Jam Marketing Group, and you can find us at jammarketinggroup.co. That's all for now. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you back here next week on the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. Love ya. Bye.